Welcome to Fairy Tale Dreams, where every story holds a new adventure. Settle in, and let's begin.
Long, long ago, when the world was young and people did as they pleased because everything was good, there lived a boy named Jack. His father was bedridden, and his mother, a good soul, toiled from early dawn till late evening, wondering how to help her sick husband and young son. She sold the milk and butter that Belka, their beautiful cow, gave generously. But it was summer, and when winter came, the grass in the field hid from the frost in the warm earth. Even though his mother sent Jack to gather food from the bushes, he usually returned with an empty bag because his eyes often filled with wonder when he looked around, and he would forget his task. And so it happened that one morning Belka gave no milk at all, not a single drop. Then the good, hard-working mother threw her apron over her head and wept, "What shall we do? What shall we do?" Jack loved his mother, and furthermore, he felt a little guilty because he was already a big boy but had helped so little, and he said, calm down. I'll go look for work somewhere." And he believed he was ready to work himself to exhaustion. But the good woman shook her head sadly. "You tried before, Jack," she said, "but no one will take you. You're a good boy, but your mind is always somewhere else. No, we'll have to sell Belka and live on that money. There's no point crying over milk when there isn't a drop left." You see, she was as clever as she was hardworking. Jack became excited. "Exactly," he exclaimed. "We'll sell Belka and become richer than ever. Every cloud has a silver lining. Today is market day. I'll take her and we'll see what happens." But his mother began. "But," he cried, "won't do. Leave it to me. I'll make a good deal." And since she had to do laundry that day and her sick husband groaned more than usual, his mother allowed Jack to sell the cow. Not for less than 10 gold pieces. She called after him as he turned the corner. 10 gold pieces. Jack intended to sell her for 20. 20 heavy gold pieces. He was just thinking what gift to buy his mother when he saw a strange small man on the road who called out to him. "Good morning, Jack." "Good morning," Jack politely bowed, wondering how this strange small man knew his name, even though the name Jack was common everywhere. "Where are you going?" Jack began to wonder, for he was always wondering why this strange small man was interested, but since he was always polite, he replied, "I'm going to the market to sell Belka, and I intend to make a good deal." You will," chuckled the strange little man. "Choose your buyer. I suppose you know how many beans make 5. 2 in each hand and 1 in your mouth," Jack quickly replied. He really was quick-witted. Exactly, chuckled the strange little man, and as he spoke, he pulled 5 beans from his pocket. "Here they are, and now give me Belka." Jack was so astonished that he stood with his mouth open, as if expecting the 5 beans to fly into it. "What?" he finally managed to say. "My Belka for 5 ordinary beans." "No way." "But they are not ordinary beans," added the strange little man, and a strange smile appeared on his strange little face. "If you plant these beans at night, by morning they will have grown right up to the sky." Jack was now so astonished that this time he couldn't even open his mouth. Only his eyes goggled. "To the very sky, you said?" he finally asked. Because, you see, Jack wondered about the sky more than anything else. "Right up to the sky," repeated the small, strange man, emphasizing every word. "It's a good deal, Jack, an honest deal. If they don't grow, well then. You'll find me here tomorrow morning and get Belka back. Does that satisfy you?" "Completely," Jack exclaimed, still thinking about the sky. but suddenly found himself standing alone on the road. "Two in each hand and one in my mouth," Jack repeated. "That's what I said, and that's what I'll do. Everything in order. And if what the strange little man promised doesn't happen, I'll get Belka back tomorrow morning." And whistling, with one of the beans in his mouth, he set off happily for home, for he was thinking what the sky would look like if he reached it. "How late you are," cried his mother, who had been anxiously waiting for him at the gate. "It's been dark for ages, but I see you've sold Belka. Quickly tell me how much you got for her." "You'd never guess," Jack began. "Good heavens." "Don't talk to me like that," interrupted the good woman. "I've been worrying all day that you might have been cheated." "Well, what?" 10 gold pieces. 15. "I don't believe it's 20. Jack solemnly showed the beans. "Here," he said. "This is what I got for her, and it's a wonderful deal." Now the mother was stunned, and all she could say was, "What? These beans?" "Yes," replied Jack, a little hesitant about his action. "But they are magic beans. If we plant them tonight, by morning they will have reached all the way to the sky. Please, don't hit me so hard." For the first time, Jack's mother lost her patience and began to beat him soundly. And when she stopped scolding and hitting him, she threw the wretched beans out the window and sent him to bed without supper. "If this is the magic power of the beans," thought a disappointed Jack, "I don't need any more magic." Still, being healthy and naturally cheerful, he soon fell asleep and slept like a log. When he woke up, he first thought the moon was shining, because everything in the room looked greenish. He looked at the small window. It was covered as if by a curtain of leaves. He instantly jumped out of bed, and the next minute, without delaying to get dressed, began to climb the tall beanstalk. So what the strange little man had said was true. One of the beans his mother had thrown into the garden had found good soil, taken root, and grown overnight. To where? Up to the very sky. Jack decided to see the sky at all costs. And so he began to climb, and climbed, and climbed. It was easy, because the tall beanstalk with its leaves growing on all sides resembled a ladder. But still he began to get out of breath and stopped to catch his breath. Then a second time he had to catch his breath. And when he wondered if he should catch his breath a third time, he saw before him a wide, bright, white road that stretched far, far, far. And he set off and walked, and walked, and walked until he reached a tall white house with white steps before a wide gate. On the steps stood a massive woman, holding a black bowl of oatmeal porridge in her hands. And Jack, having had no supper, was hungry as a wolf. And when he saw the bowl of oatmeal porridge, he politely asked, "Good morning, madam. Would you be so kind as to give me breakfast?" "Breakfast," repeated the woman, who was actually the wife of an ogre giant. "If you're talking about breakfast, it seems you are the breakfast, because I'm waiting for my husband to return any moment. And of all things, he likes nothing better than to breakfast on boys, fattened boys, roasted in the oven." Jack was no coward, and when he wanted something, he usually got it, and now, feigning amusement, he said, "I'll get fatter if I have breakfast." The giant's wife laughed and invited Jack inside, for she was not actually as wicked as she seemed, but scarcely had he finished the oatmeal porridge and the milk she had given him, when the whole house began to shake and rattle. The ogre giant had come home. Thump, thump, thump. "Quick, into the oven!" cried the giant's wife, and scarcely had she slammed the iron lid shut when the giant entered. Jack could see him through a small hole at the top of the lid, from where the steam escaped. He was truly enormous. 3 sheep hung from his belt, and he tossed them onto the table. "Here, wife," he bellowed, "roast me these little ones for breakfast. That's all I found this morning. Bad luck. I hope the oven is warm." And he moved to open it, while Jack inside broke into a cold sweat, imagining what would follow. "Roasted," cried the giant's wife. "Pa, these little ones will turn to ash. Better to boil them." And she set about preparing them for boiling. But the ogre giant began to sniff around and declaimed in ogre speak, "Fee fi fo fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive, or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." "Don't be foolish," his wife cried. "Those are the bones of the little boy you had for supper last night. I'm boiling them for soup. Come and have your breakfast now. You're quite something, you giant." The ogre giant ate the 3 sheep and went to his large oak chest, from which he took out 3 large bags full of gold coins. He placed them on the table and began to count them, while his wife cleared the table. But slowly he began to doze off and finally snored so loudly that the entire house shook. Then Jack crept out of the oven, grabbed one of the bags of gold, crawled out, and ran along the straight, wide, bright white road as fast as his legs could carry him until he reached the beanstalk. The bag of gold was heavy, and he couldn't climb down the stalk with it, so he first threw it down and then slowly descended. When he reached the ground, his mother was quickly gathering the gold coins scattered in the garden, for the bag, of course, had burst open.
"Good heavens!
She said, "Where have you been? Look, it's raining gold." "It's not raining," Jack began. "I climbed up the—" And he turned to the beanstalk. But, oh dear, there was no stalk at all. Then he understood that it had all been magic. After that, they lived happily for a long time with the gold coins, and his bedridden father received all sorts of delicious things to eat. But a day came when Jack's mother, with a sad face, placed the last gold coin in his hand and asked him to shop carefully, for there was nothing left in the chest, and they would soon begin to starve again. That night, Jack went to bed hungry of his own accord. If he couldn't earn money, at least he would eat less. It was a shame for a big boy to gorge himself on food without bringing anything in and being of no use at all. He slept like a log, as boys do when they have overeaten and when he woke up. Oh, a miracle! The entire room was glowing green again, and the curtain of leaves was there at the window. Another beanstalk had grown overnight, and Jack shot out like lightning. This time he climbed faster to the straight, wide white road and immediately found himself before the tall white house, where on the broad white steps stood the ogre giant's wife, holding a large black bowl of oatmeal porridge in her hands. This time Jack was bold and impudent. "Good morning, madam," he said. "I have come to ask you to give me breakfast, for I haven't had supper, and I'm hungry as a wolf." "Begone, you bad boy," replied the ogre giant's wife. "Last time I gave breakfast to a boy, and my husband lost a full bag of gold. I think you are that boy." "Maybe I am, and maybe I'm not," said Jack, laughing. "I'll tell you everything once I've had breakfast, but not before." The ogre giant's wife was terribly curious, so she gave him the large bowl full of oatmeal porridge, but before he had even half finished it, he heard the ogre giant coming. Thump, thump, thump. "Hide in the oven," screamed the ogre's wife. "You can tell me everything when he falls asleep." This time, Jack saw through the small hole that 3 fat cows were hanging from the ogre's belt. "My luck was better today, wife," boomed the giant, and the house shook from his voice. "Hurry! Roast these little things for my breakfast. The oven must be warm, right?" And he made to open the oven, but his wife screamed, "Roasted!" Well, You'll have to wait hours for them to roast. I'll grill them instead. Look how the fire has flared up. Ooh, thundered the ogre. And again he began to sniff and cried out, Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread. Nonsense, said his wife. Those are the bones of that boy you ate last week, and I've emptied them into the pig's bucket. Oh, roared the ogre, but he ate the grilled cows and then told his wife, bring me the hen that lays golden eggs. I want to look at the gold. His wife brought a huge black hen with a shiny red comb. She plopped it onto the table and began clearing away the breakfast dishes. The ogre said to the hen, lay. And it immediately laid. What do you think? A beautiful, shiny golden egg. Not bad, Blackie Goldie, laughed the ogre. You won't need to beg as long as I have you. Then he said again, lay. And oh, wonder, a second, shiny golden egg. Jack couldn't believe his eyes, but he decided he must have that hen at all costs. And as soon as the ogre dozed off, he darted like lightning from the oven, grabbed the hen, and ran for his life. But he hadn't calculated well, because, as you know, hens always cackle when they leave their nest after laying an egg, and this one squawked so loudly that it woke the ogre. Where's my hen? And his wife came running at once. Both of them rushed to the door, but Jack was far away. On the wide white road, his tiny figure was barely visible, clutching the enormous black hen that was flapping, cackling, and squawking. How he reached the beanstalk, Jack didn't know. Everything was a blur of wings, leaves, feathers, and cackling. But somehow he managed to get down, and there his mother stood, wondering if the sky was about to fall. As soon as he set foot on the ground, Jack cried out, lay. And the black hen stopped cackling and laid a huge, shiny golden egg. Everyone was content. From now on, everyone had everything that money could buy. Because whenever they wanted something, they only said, lay, and the black hen supplied them with gold. But Jack began to dream of finding something else in the sky besides money. And so, one moonlit midsummer night, he refused dinner and, before going to bed, crept into the garden and watered the ground beneath his window with a watering can. Because he knew there were 2 more bean seeds somewhere in the garden, and perhaps the earth had been too dry for them to sprout. Then he slept like a log. And lo and behold, when he woke up, a greenish light was again shimmering in the room, and he immediately found himself before the stalk and began to climb. And he climbed and climbed and climbed with all his might. This time he decided he shouldn't ask for breakfast because the giant's wife might recognize him. So he hid in the bushes near the big white house until she went into the pantry, and then he darted out and slipped into the cauldron. He was sure she would only be busy with the oven. Boom! 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 Jack peered through a small hole in the lid and could see the ogre proudly striding in with 3 enormous oxen hanging from his belt. But this time, no sooner had the ogre entered than he began to shout, Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread. Because, you see, the lid of the cauldron wasn't as tight-fitting as the oven door, and ogres have a dog's nose, they smell everything. Yes, I smell the same thing, cried the ogre's wife. It must be that terrible boy again who stole the bag of gold and the hen. That time, he hid in the oven. But when she opened the door, alas, Jack wasn't there. Only a few pieces of meat were roasting and sizzling. Then she laughed and said, We must have lost our wits. Why, this is the boy you caught last night, and I prepared him for your breakfast. No, we really are fools to mistake the smell of a dead boy for the smell of a live one. Come on, eat your breakfast, my good ogre. But the ogre, although he ate the roasted meat with great appetite, was not at ease, and again he began to shout, "Chomp, chomp, chomp." And he got up to search the cupboards. Jack was seized with terror, lest he remember to look in the cauldron. But he didn't look. And when he had finished his breakfast, he called to his wife, "Bring me the magic harp. I want to be amused." His wife brought a small harp and placed it on the table. And the giant ogre leaned back comfortably in his chair and lazily said, "Sing." And, oh wonder, the harp began to sing. Do you want to know what it sang about? Well, it sang about everything. And it sang so beautifully that Jack forgot to be afraid, and the giant ogre forgot to think about Munch, 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 and fell asleep. And he didn't snore. Then Jack slipped out of the cauldron like a mouse, crawled on all fours to the table, stood up quietly and snatched the harp. He was determined to possess it. But as soon as he grabbed it, it cried out quite loudly, "Master, master." The giant ogre woke up, saw Jack making his escape and ran after him. Oh, what a race began. Jack was fast, but the giant ogre's strides were twice as long. And even though Jack dodged like a rabbit and ran twice as fast, still, when he reached the beanstalk, the giant ogre was only about 10 meters behind him. There was no time to think. Jack simply threw himself onto the stalk and slid down as fast as he could, while all the time the harp kept crying out with its loudest voice, "Master! Master!" He had barely descended a quarter of the stalk when it shook so terribly that Jack nearly fell. The giant ogre began to climb down the stalk, and his weight shook it so much that it twisted and swayed like in a storm. Jack realized that it was a struggle for life and death, and so he descended faster and faster, and as he plunged down, he began to shout, "Mother! Mother! Bring the axe. Give me the axe." And his mother, fortunately, was in the backyard with an axe in her hands, for she was chopping wood, and immediately ran, thinking that this time the sky had truly fallen. At that moment, Jack stepped onto the ground, let go of the harp, which immediately began to sing all sorts of wonderful songs. He grabbed the axe and powerfully struck the stalk, which shook and swayed as if blown by the wind.
Look out!
Cried the giant ogre, pressing himself as close to the stalk as he could. But Jack was indeed careful and dealt such a terrible blow to the stalk that it, along with the giant ogre, crashed to the ground, and the giant ogre, of course, broke his head and died on the spot. After that, everyone was very happy, for they had gold to spend, and when the ailing father grew sad, Jack would take out the harp and tell it, "Sing!" Oh, what a delight! It sang about everything under the sun. And Jack ceased to constantly wonder and became a thoroughly useful person. And the last bean seed has not yet grown. It is still in the garden. I wonder if it will ever grow. And which little child will climb its stalk to the sky? And what will that child find? God knows.
Thank you for joining me on Fairy Tale Dreams. May your night be filled with the most magical dreams. Good night.